WJLA 24/7 News. We begin with a breaking news alert.
Well, we got a lot to get to right now at 5. Several breaking stories coming in as the coronavirus continues to spread across the nation and the world. We are awaiting a press conference from the White House. It is supposed to start at 5. This is a live look at the podium right now, where it should be starting any minute now. We know Vice President Mike Pence will speak. It's unclear if President Trump will be there as well. We're going to keep an eye on that. Now, earlier, the president tweeted that he's working with state governors to stop the spread of the virus. We're expecting to learn more about that. Something else that we're expecting to learn more about, that Google website that the president spoke about on Friday. Well, Google said after the president's remarks that it was not working on that project. Well, now Google is changing its tune, saying it will help launch a national website after all. In a tweet, Google says it will partner with the U.S. government on a website aimed at curbing COVID-19. The website will have information about symptoms, risk, and testing. Now, we'll also be working to find out more about the possibility of a national lockdown, similar to what we're seeing in Italy and Spain. The nation's top infectious disease expert is not ruling it out.
Well, I would like to see a dramatic diminution of the personal interaction that we see in restaurants and in bars. Whatever it takes.
Now, as we wait for the White House task force to speak, some breaking news out of Virginia. Governor Ralph Northam is also urging people to avoid crowds. In a press conference this afternoon, he announced a ban on gatherings of more than 100 people. This comes as a new cluster of cases is announced in the Commonwealth, in the same area that a man recently died from the coronavirus. Our Tim Barber is at the alert desk with more on Virginia's response. Tim.
And that now brings the total confirmed cases in Virginia to 45 across the Commonwealth, including in that peninsula region where, as you mentioned, the disease killed its first Virginian, a man in his 70s. Health officials are investigating the cluster of 8 cases there, so now local governments in that area are closing, including Williamsburg, Newport News, and Hampton. Services such as trash removal and law enforcement will continue. Virginia has the capacity right now to perform tests on 370 to 470 people, and its labs already ordered more test kits from the CDC, as private labs are also coming online with tests. In the meantime, the governor is banning events with more than 100 people and urging people to distance themselves from one another to prevent the virus from spreading.
What we're trying to do is to keep Virginians as safe as we can and working together to get through this pandemic as quickly as we can.
And just to give you an idea of just how fast this thing can spread, those 8 patients in the peninsula region had contact with 300 people. That is why the governor is urging everyone to wash your hands and keep safe distance from one another. We're going to keep following this story. We'll have much more tonight. Reporting live in the newsroom, Tim Barber, ABC 7 News.
All right, Tim, thank you. And just in, all Prince William County public schools are closing through April 14th. No employees should report until further notice, except for food service workers and custodians. Packaged breakfasts and lunches will be provided to go at some locations. Now, you can see all of this information on our website, WJLA.com. And here's a look at the number of cases around the DMV. There are now more than 80 confirmed cases. As Tim mentioned, a spike in Virginia has led to 45 cases in that state. In Maryland, there's been a jump to 32 cases. And we've just learned that the number of Montgomery County cases has gone from 5 to 12 cases. That's according to county health officials. And in D.C., there are now 16 cases. And new at 5, D.C. Mayor Muriel Bowser is updating the rules when it comes to mass gatherings in the district, especially when it comes to restaurants, nightclubs, and multi-purpose facilities. With the new restrictions, no more than 250 people can be in the same space at the same time. Bar seating is no longer allowed, and standing customers can no longer be served. Individual table seating is now limited to 6 people, and groups at tables and booths should be seated at least 6 feet apart. And in Maryland, Governor Larry Hogan has issued an emergency order to close all Maryland casinos, racetracks, and simulcast betting facilities. That order has no time limit on it. This will have a huge impact on businesses all across the area. ABC 7's Katie Kairos is live at MGM National Harbor with a reaction. Katie.
Yes, Carl, the last hours at the MGM Casino will be open for who knows how long at this point. This is part of the state's effort to limit large gatherings and protect vulnerable communities. So the casino, as well as all casinos in Maryland, will close down at midnight and stay closed for as long as Maryland's state of emergency goes for.
I've been very nervous because at my age, I'm scared. I'm afraid that I might catch it.
Lorenza Kuhn is normally a regular patron of the MGM National Harbor Casino, but she hasn't been in more than a week to avoid germs. She and her husband only came to pick up food.
I haven't been here lately, but I do come. I've been scared to come to the casino this week.
By emergency order, all casinos, racetracks, and simulcast betting facilities will close. Governor Hogan saying the move could be the difference in saving people's lives.
I'm not panicking. I'm living my life pretty normal, but you do think about it.
Also in effect, the 250-person limit on gatherings. Bars and restaurants reminded to comply. No problem there in National Harbor, almost as quiet as a ghost town.
Oh, it's dead. It's completely dead. So, it's kind of nice, to be honest with you, because you can not have to wait. But, it's weird.
St. Patrick's Day celebrations small and calm here this weekend. The staff of an Irish bar saying they were nowhere close to the crowd limit, instead posting a sign they'll reduce hours with so many fewer customers. MGM Resorts COO responded in a statement saying they'll comply with the emergency order and they will close down the casino by midnight, and also saying in that statement they'll work hard to mitigate the impact to their employees and communities. Live at National Harbor, Katie Kairos, ABC 7 News.
All right, Katie, thank you very much. A number of stores all across the area are closing early to clean and restock. Wegmans stores are closing at 10 p.m. in Maryland and 11 p.m. in Virginia. Harris Teeter stores will close at 9 p.m. tonight, and the Fredericksburg Publix will close at 8. Now, Walmart is another major retailer shortening hours at all of its stores, all in response to the coronavirus outbreak. The chain says the new hours will be from 6 a.m. to 11 p.m. Employees will work their same schedules, but the break will give them time to restock the shelves. And a reminder, if you ride the Metro at work, you'll want to give yourself some extra time. Starting tomorrow morning, trains will only run every 12 minutes, but stations will still be open for normal hours. Buses will be on a Saturday schedule. In Montgomery County, ride-on trips will be free, but you will have to board in the back of the bus. That's to eliminate any interaction with the fare box and the driver. Now, as our area takes precautions across the nation, there are now more than 3,000 cases of coronavirus. At least 62 people have died. Only one state, West Virginia, has yet to report a case. Social distancing, school closures, none of this has been easy, and Americans are turning to leaders in Washington for answers. National correspondent Atre El-Nashar has the latest from the Capitol on the tough choices ahead.
One of the nation's top doctors helping lead the White House's fight against the coronavirus, addressing an anxious public Sunday morning.
So you got to be almost overreacting a bit to keep up with it.
Fauci points to major disruptions in everyday life, like the European travel ban, as necessary measures to keep Americans safe. This as hours-long lines at U.S. airports fill with travelers coming home and undergoing health screenings.
Certainly, it is conceivable that if we don't do that, you could get as bad as Italy.
In Congress, lawmakers are rushing to pass a coronavirus relief bill, which would provide paid emergency leave and free testing. After a few changes are made to it in the House, the Senate is expected to move quickly to pass it. The president's already pledged his support and could sign it as early as Monday. Former Republican Speaker of the House Newt Gingrich issues a grim warning from his home in Italy through an op-ed in Newsweek. Gingrich writes, "The lesson of Italy is that the sooner you act, the fewer lives you will lose and the less damage you will do to your economy." Trump's address this week was a good start, but we have a lot to do before these two challenges are met.
If you are in an area where there's clear community spread, you have to be much, much more intense about how you do that. That's where you get things like school closings.
But in New York City, where there are nearly 300 cases, Mayor Bill de Blasio is refusing to close the city's schools. He says kids need to be fed at school and teenagers supervised. Meanwhile, governors in 18 states are telling kids to stay home.
While we've closed schools for 3 weeks, that the odds are that, this is going to go on a lot longer, and it would not surprise me at all if schools did not open again this year.
Tonight, the top two Democratic candidates for president, Joe Biden and Bernie Sanders, will meet for a debate, and the issue of the pandemic is likely to be front and center. Both men are expected to criticize the lack in test kits available. This as both of them have had to drastically change how they campaign, foregoing big rallies for things like virtual town halls. In Washington, I'm Atre El-Nashar.
New information tonight on cuts being made to international flights. American Airlines says it will suspend long-haul international flights from the U.S. starting Monday through May 6th. The change comes amid new government-issued travel restrictions. The company says some short-haul international flights will continue, including those to Canada, Mexico, the Caribbean, and Central America. Breaking news, the Fed takes emergency action to slash short-term rate to nearly zero and ease banking rules to encourage lending. That information just in and still developing. We'll bring you more information when we learn more about that. Now, the vice president will not be tested for coronavirus. That's new today. A White House doctor says testing the vice president is not necessary right now. That's surprising to some because Pence is the head of the president's coronavirus task force. Just yesterday, Mr. Trump announced that he was tested after coming into contact with several people who later tested positive. Well, today, the agency at the forefront of fighting this pandemic says one of its employees is infected with coronavirus. The National Institutes of Health says the employee is not involved in patient care and is quarantined at home and doing well. In a statement, the agency said in part, while this is an unfortunate development, it is not surprising, and NIH expects that there will be more cases of infection among NIH staff. Right now, we are still waiting for a press conference from the White House. This is a live look at the podium right now, where it should be starting any minute now. We saw a door open just a little while ago. We're keeping an eye on that. We know that Vice President Mike Pence will speak. It is unclear if President Trump will be there. Yesterday, he was not on the docket, but he did show up and make some comments as well. We're going to bring that to you just as soon as it starts. Now, with so much information coming out, you can always stay informed on our website, WJLA.com. We have an entire page there, all dedicated to the coronavirus outbreak. You will continue to follow the breaking developments, both on air and, of course, online and on social media. And make sure that you have the ABC7 News app because you can get alerts sent right to your phone. And tomorrow, ABC News will air a live 1-hour special episode of 2020 hosted by David Muir. We'll have an in-depth look at how quickly coronavirus tests are being created, and they will also answer questions live from social media. Again, that's happening Monday night at 10 on ABC7.
And outside today, as advertised, it was going to definitely be a cooler day, and that's been the story all throughout the afternoon. We've had a lot of cloud cover. Now, early on, those showers we had early this morning have tapered off, and those clouds trying to thin out. Depends on where you're located. Some spots trying to see a few breaks. In fact, Laurel, St. Vincent Pallotti High School, I'm seeing a few breaks in the clouds out there right now. 49 degrees with a calm wind. Meanwhile, Spotsylvania still seeing a fair amount of cloud cover to our south, 47. And as we look at one of our other cameras up in Frederick, a few breaks in the clouds, 54 right now up in Frederick, Maryland. So as we head into the evening, the next couple of hours, we will see some thinning of the clouds from this total overcast to a partly cloudy sky. As far as temperatures later tonight, I think we'll be closer to the low 40s downtown, right around 40 in the city by tomorrow morning at 5 a.m. But it will be cooler in the north and western zones. I think they could see temperatures close to freezing. Coming up, we have a warming trend in store. We'll lay it out for you as the news at 5 continues after this.
That White House briefing on coronavirus is starting right now. Let's go to that live.
All right. Beautiful day outside. And I think we have some great things to talk about. I'll start by discussing the Federal Reserve. As you know, it just happened minutes ago, but to me it makes me very happy. And I want to congratulate the Federal Reserve. For starters, they've lowered the Fed rate from what it was, which was 1 to 1.25, and it's been lowered down to 0 to 0.25 or 0.25. So it's 0 to 0.25. That's a big difference. It's quite a bit, about a point. And in addition, very importantly, the Federal Reserve is going to be purchasing $500 billion of treasuries and $200 billion of mortgage-backed securities, and that number can increase. But they're going to start with that, and that's really good news. It's really great for our country. It's something that we're very happy. I have to say this. I'm very happy. And they did it in one step. They didn't do it in 4 steps over a long period of time. They did it in one step, and I think that people in the market should be very thrilled, and that brings us, we're the strongest country in the world by far, financially and every other way, and that brings us in line with what other countries are. They actually have negative rates, but look, we got it down to potentially 0 So that's a big step, and I'm very happy they did it. And you will not hear anything bad about me unless it's about a month or two from now. So I congratulate the Federal Reserve. I think it's terrific. Just came out just as we spoke. I wasn't going to mention Federal Reserve or anything else, but this came out as we were walking up. I want to thank the people at Google and Google Communications because, as you know, they substantiated what I said on Friday. The head of Google, who's a great gentleman, called us and he apologized. I don't know where the press got their fake news, but they got it someplace. But as you know, this is from Google. They put out a release, and you guys can figure it out yourselves and how that got out. And I'm sure you'll apologize. But it would be great if we could really give the news correctly. It would be so wonderful. I just had a phone call with very impressive people, the biggest in the world of stores and groceries and all. And I'll give you the names. Dave Clark, Whole Foods. Mark Clow, CEO of Campbell Soup Company. Brian Cornell, CEO of Target. Randy Edeker, Chairman and CEO, President of Hy-Vee. Jeff Hamerning, CEO of General Mills, great company. Kevin Burakan, President and CEO of Cisco. Craig Jelinek, CEO of Costco. Todd Jones, CEO of Publix Supermarkets. Donnie King, Tyson Foods. David McLennan, Chairman and CEO of Cargill. Rodney McMullen, CEO, Chairman of Kroger, big company. Doug McMillan, CEO of Walmart. He's been fantastic. Doug was here, as you know, on Friday, and he watched the market go up 2,000 points. On Friday, it went up 2,000, almost 2,000 points. Todd Vaso, CEO of Dollar General Corporation, and Vivek Sankaran, President and CEO of Albertsons. So these are all phenomenal companies. These are great companies. We had a long conversation with them, and they're going to work 24 hours round the clock, keeping their stores stocked. I would like to say that people shouldn't go out and buy. We're going to all be great. We're going to be so good. We're going to do what's happened with the Fed is phenomenal news. What's happening with all of these incredible companies is phenomenal news. But you don't have to buy so much. Take it easy. Just relax. People are going in and they're buying more. I remember, I guess during the conversation, Doug of Walmart said that they're buying more than they buy at Christmas. Relax. We're doing great. It all will pass. The folks that we spoke to, they've done a fantastic job. They're going to meet the needs of the public. They're going round the clock if they have to, and they're committed to the communities where they're serving and which they serve so beautifully and have for a long time. And they're buying a lot of additional things to sell. But again, they actually have asked me to say, could you buy a little bit less, please? I thought I'd never hear that from a retailer. All of them are working hand in hand with the federal government as well as the state and local leaders to ensure food and essentials are constantly available. And they'll do it. There's no shortages. We have no shortages other than people are buying anywhere from 3 to 5 times what they would normally buy. It's going to be there for a long time. We're doing numbers, and there's a pent-up demand that's incredible. When this passes, when this goes through, you're going to see numbers, I predict. I guess I'm allowed to predict just like Wall Street people are allowed to predict, and they're pretty much in agreement. You're going to see there's a pent-up demand like a lot of people, including me, haven't seen before. But this has to get through. They know they're getting through the crisis and will require an all-of-America approach, and that's very important. They're committed to remaining open during this crisis, totally open. They have to stay open. Those stores have to stay open. They supply our country. Our supply chains in America are the most powerful in the world, and they're all working very hard. They're working round the clock, and the stores are stocking up at a level that's beyond Christmas time, and it's great. It was very reassuring speaking to these people. They have it totally in hand. There's no need for anybody in the country to hoard essential food supplies. They said to me, could you please tell them, just go and buy, enjoy it. have a nice dinner, relax, because there's plenty. But you don't have to buy the quantities because it's hard to refill the stores on a basis as rapid as they're refilling them. And we are using the full power of the federal government to defeat the coronavirus, and we will do whatever it takes, and we're doing, I think, really, really well. A lot of good things are going to happen. I want to thank all of the people standing behind me. You know, these are phenomenal people, and we have some of them right over here, but the people behind me have been working round the clock, and they're doing an incredible job. We see what's happening. We see what's going on in other countries. We're looking we're learning from watching other countries, frankly. There's a very contagious virus. It's incredible, but it's something that we have tremendous control of. I think very important to young people, people of good health, and groups of people just are not strongly affected. Elderly people that are not well or not well in certain respects are really a dangerous group. We have to watch them. We have to protect them very much. We have to really watch over them and protect them because they are very vulnerable. And with that, if it's okay, I'm just going to go and make some calls. I'm talking about Federal Reserve. I think it's a tremendous thing that took place just now. I didn't know I would be surprised on a Sunday. I don't know if that's ever happened on a Sunday before, but I would think there are a lot of people on Wall Street that are very happy. And I can tell you that I'm very happy. I didn't expect this. And I like being surprised. So our vice president, who's doing an incredible job, is going to take over, and I will see you probably tomorrow. Thank you very much.
Bars and restaurants closed.
Well, thank you, Mr. President, and good afternoon. With more than 2,900 cases of coronavirus in 49 states across the country, I want to assure the American people that this administration, all of our partners at the state level, and local health officials have no higher priority than the health and safety of the American public. And at the President's direction, we will continue not only a whole-of-government approach, but as we'll discuss today, we'll continue to build on a whole-of-America approach to confront the coronavirus across the country. The health experts continue to confirm to us that based on the latest information, for the American people as a whole, the risk of serious illness remains low. But because the risk is heavily weighted to the most vulnerable, to people with immunodeficiencies and to people who are elderly with serious underlying chronic health conditions, our administration, and I know state administrations, will continue to focus on the most vulnerable, and we will continue to urge every American to be vigilant in practicing good hygiene, taking the advice of the CDC and local health experts to keep those most vulnerable safe. I know I speak on behalf of the President and our entire team when I say how grateful we are for governors all across the country and the seamless partnership that we have forged with them and with state health officials, with our federal team. I spoke today to Governor Pritzker of Illinois, and we are in continuous communication with governors a phone call away. They know that they can contact us and address even the smallest need, because as a former governor, I know firsthand that when it comes to health challenges in America, our states are on the ground in the lead, our local health organizations, and we've built a great partnership. We also want to express great appreciation to the American people. Not surprisingly, it is inspiring to see the way tens of millions of Americans are responding with compassion, with common sense, and we want to express particular gratitude to communities of faith that participated in today's National Day of Prayer. We've seen places of worship implementing policies to keep those most vulnerable safe, and also we're seeing communities of faith already stepping forward to support and to encourage those most vulnerable. I heard tell of a church back in Indiana that's actually no longer having services till April 10th, but in the meantime, they'll be offering daycare to the children of healthcare workers in central Indiana. And churches all across the country are taking the opportunity to reach out and put feet on their faith, and it's truly inspiring. As the President mentioned today, he spoke today to leaders in the grocery store industry and where people buy our food, and we heard and we're reminded that America has the most efficient and effective supply chain in the world, and it's working just fine. As the President said, he received a commitment from those grocery store executives that stores will stay open throughout the days that lie ahead. We were told that hours may be reduced to allow for cleaning and to resupply, but American families can be confident your local grocery store is going to be open, it's going to be well supplied, and they specifically asked us to encourage Americans just buy your weekly needs in grocery because the grocery stores will remain open. Also, very movingly, those same executives all reiterated their commitment to continue to support local food banks in the way that our grocers continue to do around America. Tomorrow, President and I will be briefing all the nation's governors, states and territories, and the District of Columbia. We'll be speaking about the progress that we're making, and we'll be speaking to them specifically about our widening partnership on expanding testing to the American people. So allow me to speak to that issue, and then I'm going to recognize Admiral Brett Giroir, who will describe for us the excellent work the Public Health Service is doing. Dr. Birx will describe the importance of the new national public-private partnership for diagnostic testing that is going to open the door to thousands of more tests in real time for the American people in the days ahead. First, some fundamentals. As the American people know, testing is now available in all 50 states. Either state labs are either conducting the tests themselves or the CDC is processing tests. They're using the traditional manner of a manual test that allows for 40 to 60 tests a day. It is among the reasons why the President several weeks ago tasked this group at the White House to reach out to commercial labs around the country and forge that public-private partnership that would bring the high speed, or more accurately, the high throughput testing for coronavirus available in real time. And based on the unprecedented speed of the FDA, which last week approved high throughput coronavirus testings for Roche and Thermo Fisher, we will now have access in the days ahead to more than 2,000 labs across the country that have the equipment today to process coronavirus tests much more rapidly and a much higher volume for the American people. In terms of delivering those services, more than 10 states, in addition to CDC labs, and public health labs, and labs that states can now authorize in their states, more than 10 states have implemented their own drive-through testing sites, and we want to commend New York, Colorado, Delaware, Washington State, Texas, and others that have implemented these on-site places where people can obtain tests. Most are using the current CDC testing, the manual testing, but we are working closely with our governors, as you will hear momentarily, to make sure that the new testing regimen is available for their remote sites as well. As I mentioned, as of Monday, we will have more than 2,000 labs coming online with the high-speed testing, and we are connecting states to those testing methods. We're also working with a number of retail partners to add to the work that states are doing around the country, working to set up parking lot testing centers outside of stores, and Admiral Brett Giroir will detail the progress that we've made over the last 72 hours. Following the President's declaration of emergency, the Admiral and our Public Health Service have forged a partnership now with FEMA, made possible by that declaration, and they've reached out to all 50 states to create a process that will enable all Americans who need to be tested to go to a community-based testing site outside of usual healthcare facilities. The focus of these tests, as Dr. Birx will describe momentarily, will be on those most in need. A priority will be placed on healthcare workers and first responders who are out there coming alongside people that are being impacted by the coronavirus. We want to make sure they have access to the testing as a priority. And then Americans 65 or over with a cough or a fever or other symptoms will be prioritized over other tests that are extended. As I mentioned, Admiral Gawa will describe the progress that we've made in just a few moments, but we're going to continue to work very diligently, hour by hour, day by day in the days ahead, to expand testing around the country and access to this extraordinary and unprecedented national public-private partnership for diagnostic testing. With regard to testing, as we expand testing, we're so pleased that Congress joined with our administration to make sure that cost is never going to be a barrier to anyone getting a coronavirus test. As you recall, several weeks ago, the President directed a change in our Medicare and Medicaid programs to ensure that coronavirus testing was included. Health insurers were brought in. They all agreed to waive co-pays, but because of the good bipartisan work done in the House of Representatives, now all coronavirus testing is free, and it's free for every American, including uninsured Americans. And we continue to urge passage of the legislation that will be considered by the Senate this week. Let me say one final word about the testing issue, and that is that we, as the President often says, we're all in this together. And it's absolutely important that as we expand testing resources across the country, beginning by prioritizing the areas that CDC and our state leadership tell us are most important. It's important that the tests are available for people that are most in need, and for our healthcare workers and first responders that are helping them and supporting them. As Dr. Birx will describe, the testing that is available should only be done if for any reason you think you may have the coronavirus. We encourage people to consult their doctor, and if you're symptom-free, we encourage you to work with us to make sure the testing is available for people that are experiencing symptoms. It's extremely important that we have the continuing cooperation of every American as we expand testing and make it available during this challenging time in the life of our nation. With that, I'm going to ask Dr. Birx, I'm going to ask Admiral Brett Giroir, the Public Health Service and leader of this great commission corps behind me, to come up and describe the extraordinary work that they have done over the last 72 hours and will be doing each and every day in conjunction with our states to expand testing to community-based testing across the country for the American people using this new public-private partnership diagnostic testing. Admiral?
Thank you, Mr. Vice President, and thank you for your personal interest and support of our team over the last 72 hours as we worked on this critically important project.